Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. I came home early that night with a bag of Chinese takeout in my hand. Allison loved the sesame noodles from this small place on Ashland, and I figured I'd surprise her. My shoes were barely off when I heard her voice drifting from the living room. At first, I thought she was just chatting with friends. Then, I caught the words. 3 years, Allison said, laughter in her tone. I've been faking it for 3 years, and he has no clue. Her friends erupted on speakerphone. I recognized Marcella's sharp laugh, then another voice. Ione's, a woman I'd met once at a dinner party. Stop it, Ione said, teasing. You're lying. I swear, Allison replied. Every single time. It's like muscle memory at this point. I could win awards for how convincing I am. They laughed again, and my grip on the takeout bag tightened. Marcella chimed in. You even told us you give him pointers sometimes. That's brutal. Oh, I do, Allison said. And he eats it up, thinking he's learning something. Meanwhile, I'm already planning what story I'll share with you guys next. My stomach sank, but my mind stayed clear. 3 years of marriage, 3 years of performances I thought were real. I stepped into the room. Allison froze mid-laugh, eyes widening as she saw me. The call was still on speaker, both friends silent now, sensing something had shifted. I set the food on the coffee table and smiled just enough to make it sting. Same here, I said. The silence was immediate. Damon? Allison's voice was suddenly small, brittle. Marcella's muffled voice broke through the phone. Wait, what does he mean by that? I didn't answer. Allison stared at me, pale as chalk, waiting for an explanation I wasn't giving. Then I picked up my keys and walked past her, leaving her and her audience to wonder what I meant. Allison came knocking on the bedroom door not long after I walked away. Her voice was sharp, but there was an edge of panic beneath it. Damon, what was that supposed to mean? Same here. Don't play games with me. I was sitting on the edge of the bed, suitcase open, folding shirts. I didn't rush to answer. Finally, I looked up. It means you're not the only one who's been pretending for 3 years, I said evenly. She pushed the door open, arms crossed. Pretending what? That makes no sense. I zipped a bag compartment before I spoke again. You think I'm some mid-level operations guy scraping by, don't you? That's what I let you believe. She frowned, confused. Because that's what you are. No, I said. That's the version of me I showed you. The real story is that I co-owned a logistics network. We sold half the company 2 years ago. I've kept my lifestyle simple because I wanted a marriage without questions about money. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. You've been splitting bills at diners and acting like we're pinching pennies, she started. Because I wanted to see if someone would stand by me for who I am, not what's in my accounts, I cut in. Her face flushed red. So what? You've been running some experiment on me? Testing me like I'm a lab rat? You've been staging performances for your friends, recording our marriage as a comedy act. Tell me which is worse. She shook her head violently. No, that's different. I was trying to make them laugh, trying to make myself feel better. You were bragging, I said flatly. Her arms dropped. So, what's real then? This apartment? I shook my head. Leased through my company. Temporary. The townhouse is mine. Bought outright before we married. The silence between us was dense. She stared at the open suitcase, then at me. You're leaving? For a while, I said. I need space. And so do you. I lifted the bag, walked past her again, and didn't look back. The next afternoon, my receptionist buzzed me. There's a Mrs. Langford downstairs. She says it's urgent. I sighed. Allison had found my real office. I told her to send her up. By the time I met her in the lobby, she looked different. Damon, we need to talk. Privately. I gestured toward the conference rooms. We stepped into one with glass walls. Allison glanced around, taking in the polished floor, the framed contracts, and the skyline through the windows. You've been lying to me, she started, voice shaking. 3 years of pretending to be someone you're not. Do you know how humiliated I feel? My friends think I'm a fool. I folded my arms. Your friends also think you've been faking intimacy since our wedding. Whose humiliation are we measuring? She winced but didn't back down. I did that once, Damon. Just once, at the beginning. You were so nervous, and I wanted you to feel good. Then it turned into a habit. Then into content. Content? I asked, voice low. She nodded hesitantly. Marcella convinced me to start a private group. I'd share stories, get reactions, and sometimes advice. It snowballed. I didn't mean for it to become what it did. "So you turned our marriage into a subscription service," I said. Her lip trembled. It wasn't about money at first. It was about connection. But yes, it paid. It's my work now. I shook my head. That's the line, Allison. I stayed quiet about money because I didn't want to be used for it. You stayed quiet about this because you wanted to profit from me. That's not the same. She leaned forward, desperate. We can reset. No more lies. No more pretending. Just us. I looked at her for a long moment, then shut it down. Delete every story, every clip, every post. Prove it. Her eyes hardened. That group is mine. I built it. I'm not throwing it away. Then you've answered your own question, I said, standing. There's nothing left to reset. That evening, my phone buzzed nonstop. A new group chat had been created. The members, Allison, her mother Etta, and Marcella. The first message flashed on my screen before I even sat down to dinner. Damon, we need to resolve this privately. Allison has given you her best years. You owe her fair compensation, Etta said. I scrolled further. Marcella had added her 2 cents. You humiliated her by hiding who you are. The least you can do is make things right. We think $75,000 would be an appropriate gesture. I leaned back in my chair, reading it twice. A gesture. That's what they called it. I typed 1 sentence in return, forwarding this to my attorney. Then I left the chat. A minute later, Allison sent a direct message. That wasn't me, Damon. They pushed me. Please don't be cruel about this. Another buzz. I just want to talk without all the noise. 10 minutes later. If you cared at all, you'd at least hear me out. I didn't respond. Instead, I sent the transcript of the group chat to Nadia Chen, my lawyer. Her reply came quickly. Don't engage. I'll handle it. I put my phone face down on the counter. 2 days later, I notified the property manager that the lease on our apartment wouldn't be renewed. 6 weeks left. Allison would have that much time to decide her next move. That night, Allison tried again, this time with nostalgia. Remember our trip to Denver? You held my hand the entire flight. You said we could face anything together. Then, an hour later, the tone shifted. You're throwing away 3 years for what? A little pride? By morning, another. If you think I won't defend myself, you're wrong. I didn't answer a single one. I'd said what mattered to me, truth or nothing, and she had made her choice. The letter came on a Monday morning, delivered by courier in a thick envelope. The header carried the name of a boutique law firm I'd never heard of. Inside was a demand written in stiff language. Allison was seeking $400,000 for financial concealment, unpaid domestic contributions, and emotional distress caused by fraudulent misrepresentation. It also included a draft statement package they said would be released publicly if we didn't reach an amicable resolution. I sent the packet straight to Nadia. 10 minutes later, she called, laughing. They really think this will stick, she said. She signed a prenup, Damon. Ironclad. There's no financial commingling, no promises of support, no reliance. And the kicker? We have her recordings. Recordings? I asked. She's been sharing stories about you in that private group. Marcella leaked screenshots. She monetized your private life without consent. That opens her up to privacy and defamation claims. If they want to fight, they're walking into traffic. Good, I said. Make sure they know it. Nadia drafted a response that was sharper than any blade. She cited the prenup, attached case law, and added a cease and desist for every piece of content Allison had ever published about me. She gave them 48 hours to remove it all, or face counterclaims that would make their demand look laughable. 2 days later, the boutique firm softened its tone. Suddenly, they wanted constructive dialogue. Nadia didn't budge. Meanwhile, Marcella slid into my inbox with a direct message. You don't have to let the lawyers ruin everything. Be generous, show goodwill. This doesn't have to get ugly. I ignored it. Etta tried next, leaving me a voicemail about how family disputes shouldn't be settled in court. I didn't call back. The pressure was mounting, but not on me. For the first time, Allison's side was scrambling, and I intended to let them. It was a Friday evening when Allison showed up at the townhouse. I came down, half expecting a scene. Instead, she stood there in a fitted dress, makeup perfect, carrying a designer bag that I could tell was fake. "Can we talk?" she asked, voice softer than it had been in weeks. I let her in, but only as far as the kitchen. She looked around like she was stepping into another world. "So this is the real place," she said. "I wondered what you were hiding." I poured water into a glass, slid it across the counter. "You wanted to talk. Go ahead." She exhaled, steadying herself. "I'll shut it down. The group, the posts, everything. I didn't realize how far it had gone. I liked the attention. And yes, the money helped, but I never stopped caring about you." I studied her face, the way she was trying to gauge my reaction. "You profited off our marriage without telling me. That's not just careless, Allison. That's betrayal." She bit her lip. "Then what about your secret? You had millions and lived like you were broke. You lied too." I opened a drawer and set a small box on the counter. Inside was a ring, a reset I'd planned months into our marriage. Alongside it was a folder for a trip I'd never booked. "This was supposed to be your anniversary gift. A bigger commitment. A future." I shelved it when I realized what I was living with. Her eyes welled. "You really were serious." "I was," I said quietly, "until I learned I wasn't your husband. I was your material." She reached for my hand. I didn't move. "I can fix this," she whispered. "No," I said. "You can stop the damage, but you can't fix what's already gone." Her hand fell back to her lap. She knew it. Nadia drew up the papers within a week. It was straightforward. The prenup held, so there would be no spousal support. We split the minor assets we'd actually shared, a checking account with a balance smaller than most people's credit card bills, and some furniture from the rental. The agreement required Allison to delete every piece of content about me, past or future, and to sign a mutual non-disparagement clause. She stalled at first, trying to negotiate. Her lawyer pushed for dignity money, a token payout. Nadia shut it down. He owes her nothing. If anything, she owes him damages. This is the deal. Take it or take court. Eventually, Allison signed. The property manager confirmed our lease ended in 6 weeks. I arranged movers to handle the furniture. Allison would stay until the notice expired. I didn't care. It wasn't my home anymore. The day after she signed, I received one last text from her. "I never thought it would end like this. I gave you everything, even if it wasn't perfect. And you threw it away. Maybe you'll regret it someday." I didn't reply. 2 days later, Marcella posted some vague rant online about men who weaponize silence. I had no interest in trading barbs in public. The break was clean, the documents airtight, the clock on the lease ticking down. For the first time in weeks, I felt the weight lifting. 6 weeks later, I handed the apartment keys back to the property manager. Movers had already cleared out what little belonged to me. I didn't watch Allison leave. That chapter was over. At the townhouse, life fell back into rhythm. Work, gym, evenings with a book or music. Peace had a way of feeling louder after weeks of chaos. A month later, I met Celine at a logistics conference. She worked in supply chain analytics, sharp-minded and unpretentious. On our second date, I told her the truth before dessert arrived. "I don't live the way my bank account says I could. I have money, yes, enough that some people might see me differently, and I also require a prenup for any future marriage." She smiled, leaned back in her chair. "So, what you're saying is dinner's on you." I smirked. "That's one way to put it." When the bill came, she split it down the middle without hesitation. A week later, I drove past the old apartment. For a moment, I saw myself at the door again, holding that first takeout bag, expecting to surprise Allison. The memory felt distant now, like watching someone else's life. I blocked the last lingering group chat that still buzzed with Edda's half-hearted attempts at guilt. What stuck with me most wasn't the money, the legal threats, or even the betrayal itself. It was how casually Allison had bragged that night. She laughed while admitting she'd been faking for 3 years, confident her performance would never be exposed. That was the lesson. When someone tells you they've been faking, believe them. Now, I don't hide who I am. I speak plainly, and I let people choose. Some walk away, others stay, but at least the ground is solid. and I'll never again mistake a performance for the truth. Thank you for watching. Welcome to Cheater Confessions. Let's get started with today's story. Kayla and I had been together almost a year when her ex, Taylor Grant, started circling back into her life. At first, I brushed it off. We'd see him at the Saturday farmer's market, where Kayla and I usually bought our week's groceries. Taylor would appear near the bread stall, all smiles, like he just happened to be there. "Small world," he'd say, shaking my hand a little too firmly, before turning to Kayla with that familiar grin. The second time, it was at her climbing gym. He walked right over while I was tying my harness. "Kayla, no way! Didn't think you still climbed here," he said, ignoring me completely. Then it was trivia night with her coworkers. He strolled in late, waved across the room, and Kayla lit up like she'd seen an old friend she'd missed dearly. That one stung more than I let on. I asked her about it afterward. "Doesn't it feel strange, him popping up everywhere?" She laughed and shook her head. "Roger, you're overthinking. We dated for 3 years. We know the same people. It's not like I invited him." But it wasn't just random overlap. Taylor lingered. He leaned into conversations, shared inside jokes from trips they'd taken, laughed about restaurants they loved, and TV shows they'd binged. I'd be sitting right there, reduced to background noise. The night it boiled over was when we hosted a game night at Kayla's apartment. I walked in, and Taylor was already on the couch, helping her set up the board. "Oh, didn't I tell you?" Kayla said. "Taylor's part of the regular crew." That was a lie. I'd been to 3 game nights before, and he'd never once been there. Later, when I pulled her aside, she rolled her eyes. "You're jealous of my past?" "No, I'm annoyed your past keeps showing up in my present." She smirked. "Real men aren't threatened by exes. Maybe you're not as secure as I thought." The next morning, she posted on Instagram, "Ladies, find you a man who isn't threatened by your friendships. Real men understand exes can be friends. Emotional maturity is sexy. Jealousy isn't." Taylor commented with a single word, "Preach." I didn't respond, but I decided I would, boldly. I kept quiet after her Instagram stunt. No comments, no passive-aggressive posts, just silence. Kayla thought she'd won the argument by making me look like the insecure boyfriend. What she didn't know was that I'd already figured out my next move. On Thursday night, I sent Taylor a message. "Hey man, Kayla's birthday is coming up. I want to make it special. You were with her a long time, so you probably know her better than anyone. Got time to meet for coffee? Could use your advice." He replied in minutes. "Of course. I know all her favorites. Let's meet Saturday at 10. That cafe on River Street?" "Perfect." The next day, I casually showed Kayla my phone. "Look, I'm being mature. Reached out to Taylor for gift advice. Figured he knows you well." She blinked, caught off guard. "You messaged Taylor?" "Yeah. You said I was being insecure. I'm proving you wrong. Real men aren't threatened by exes, right?" Her mouth opened, but no words came out. Finally, she nodded. "I guess that makes sense." I smiled. "Good. Then there's no issue." Inside, I watched her shift uncomfortably. For the first time since Taylor started popping up, Kayla looked unsettled. Saturday morning, Taylor walked into the cafe dressed like he was headed for a date. He shook my hand, grinning. "Roger, my man. Let's talk gifts." He leaned in, eager to show me how well he still knew her. Kayla loves experiences, not things. Concerts, wine tastings, spa weekends. She hates jewelry. Too cliché. Trust me, I've got you. I nodded, jotting down notes like an attentive student. "Good to know. Hey, while I've got you here, can I ask a couple more things? She's been distant lately? Is that normal for her?" Taylor's eyes lit up. "Oh yeah, when she's stressed with work, she shuts down physically. Classic Kayla. Give her space." He was too comfortable, too confident, and that was exactly what I wanted. Taylor leaned back in his chair like he was teaching a class, only he was qualified to give. I kept my face neutral, nodding as if every word he said was gold. "Good tip," I said. "What about her phone habits?" "She's been guarding it lately, even sleeping with it under her pillow." He shifted, frowning. "That's new. She never did that with me." "Strange," I said, pretending to be concerned. "I thought maybe it was normal for her." Taylor hesitated, then laughed nervously. "No, but she has been texting me a lot recently. Late nights, like 1 or 2 in the morning. Just talking about work stress, family drama, harmless. He said it like a man trying to convince himself. I tilted my head. At 1 a.m.? Sounds intense. Kayla just needs someone who gets her, he said proudly, pulling out his phone. Look. He scrolled through their messages, angling the screen so I could read. Conversations stretched past midnight. Kayla venting about her boss. Kayla joking about how Roger doesn't get me sometimes. Kayla sending memes with "remember when" captions. I didn't even have to ask. Taylor started forwarding screenshots to me. Here, man. Maybe this helps you understand her better. Shows what she really likes. I don't want to get in the way, but you deserve the full picture. Appreciate it, I said, slipping my phone back into my pocket. Taylor leaned forward. Between us, she still leans on me a lot. Some bonds don't break, Honestly, if she wanted to come back, I wouldn't say no. I let that hang for a second before answering. Then maybe I'm the problem. If she wants you, I won't compete. She should be with whoever she really wants. His eyes widened. Wait, are you serious? Dead serious. I'll talk to her, see where her head's at. If it's you, she's all yours. Taylor grinned like he'd already won. That's mature, Roger. Most guys couldn't handle that. I smiled back. Yeah. That evening, I went to Kayla's place with the screenshots Taylor had so generously provided. She greeted me at the door with her usual smile, but it slipped when she saw my expression. We need to talk, I said, stepping inside. About what? She asked, forcing a laugh. I sat down and placed my phone on the table, screen facing up. A dozen messages lit the display, hers to Taylor. Midnight threads. Confessions. Complaints. Roger is too steady, almost boring. I miss the spark. You understand me better than anyone. Kayla's face drained of color. How did you... Taylor showed me, I cut in. Said he was helping me understand you better. Her eyes narrowed. So you tricked him. That's low, Roger. I kept my voice calm. I asked him about birthday ideas. He volunteered everything else. And what I saw isn't friendship. She crossed her arms, defensive. Those messages were venting. Nothing more. Everyone needs to talk to someone. Sure, I said evenly, but not to your ex. Not at 1 in the morning. And not while you call me boring behind my back. Kayla's voice rose. You're twisting this. You're being controlling. Real men aren't jealous of harmless texts. I stood, grabbing the overnight bag I'd brought. Real men set boundaries. You cross them. I'm not competing with Taylor or anyone else. Figure out what you want, Kayla. I won't share you. Her face shifted from anger to panic. Wait, you're leaving? For now, I said. I'll stay at Silas's. The texts started as soon as I walked out. Apologies, excuses, then anger. You're insecure. You don't get how friendships work. Please come back. We can fix this. I replied once. Decide what you want. Then I turned my phone face down. I thought Kayla might back down after that. Instead, she doubled down. 3 nights later, Taylor showed up at her condo with a bouquet and a bottle of wine. He'd taken her late-night messages. I miss how you made me feel, as an invitation. According to a mutual friend, Kayla panicked when he showed up. She told him she didn't want him back, but Taylor wasn't hearing it. He pulled out his phone, showing her the very messages she'd sent. When she tried to spin them as just venting, he pressed harder. Finally, she had to get building security to escort him out. But Taylor wasn't done. The next day, he posted on his private feed, a long paragraph, blurry screenshots in the background, just clear enough to tell they were hers. His caption, "Mixed signals hurt. Don't tell me you miss me at 2 a.m. if you don't mean it." The post spread fast. Kayla's friend circle saw it, including Elena Cruz, the one who'd backed her during the Instagram drama. Elena commented, "Wait, this looks bad, Kayla. Were you actually texting him all night?" Others piled on. "Backup plans aren't cute. Girl, you can't play both sides." Kayla scrambled. She posted a story claiming Taylor was harassing her, twisting innocent conversations. For a day, some people believed her. Then Taylor dropped clearer screenshots, messages where Kayla admitted she compared every guy to him, where she called me safe but dull. The tide turned instantly. Her friends went quiet. A few even sent me messages. Guess you weren't insecure after all. Kayla, meanwhile, lit up my phone with a new strategy. This is your fault. You set this up. If you hadn't reached out to him, none of this would have happened. I didn't answer. She was right about one thing, though. I had set it up. Boldly. A few days later, I got a text from Taylor himself. Roger, can we talk? Man to man. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet him at a diner near the river. When I walked in, he was already at a booth, eyes bloodshot like he hadn't slept. He started without preamble. I thought she wanted me back. She said she missed the spark, said you didn't get her. I believed her. You weren't wrong about what she said. But you were wrong about what it meant. You weren't special. You were convenient. A fallback. He winced. Convenient? Yeah. You were available. You answered at 1 a.m. You kept her ego fed. But if it wasn't you, it would have been someone else. She's already been messaging her trainer, Dorian Pike. Check her Instagram likes. He's all over them. Taylor's mouth tightened. He pulled out his phone and scrolled. His face paled. Unbelievable. I leaned forward. So here's the deal. Stop showing up at places she goes. Stop answering her late-night texts. Stop being her emotional crutch. She'll move on to the next guy anyway. Don't let it be you again. He rubbed his temples. I really thought... I cut him off. You thought wrong. You weren't rebuilding something. You were just fuel for her games. For the first time, he didn't argue. He just nodded, beaten down. Later that week, Kayla escalated. She came to my office lobby, demanding to see me. Security stopped her at the desk. My manager walked by and asked, "Is that your ex making a scene downstairs?" "Unfortunately," I said. Kayla texted me from the lobby. "I'm not leaving until we talk." I replied once, "Hope you brought snacks. It might be a long wait." She lasted 2 hours before storming out. I didn't follow. Kayla wasn't done. When showing up at my office didn't work, she tried a new angle. She recorded a video for her followers, face half in shadow, voice lowered like she was exposing some grand injustice. When men can't handle a woman's independence, they call it boundaries, she said into the camera. When two insecure guys gang up to silence you, that's not maturity. That's control. It racked up views fast, especially among her circle. Comments flooded in. Preach, queen. Men always twist the narrative. For 24 hours, she looked like she'd pulled it off. Then Taylor posted his own video. No filters, no shadows. Just him, looking into the lens, holding his phone in his hand. "I didn't want to do this," he began, "but I can't let her keep lying. Here's the truth." He scrolled through message after message, her late-night confessions, her complaints about me. And then the one thing even I hadn't seen. A voice note Kayla had sent him at 3 in the morning. Her slurred voice filled the audio. "I know it's wrong, but I love having both of you fight over me. It makes me feel powerful." The internet doesn't forgive that kind of line. Within hours, the clip was everywhere. People made memes, remixes, TikToks. Comments turned brutal. This is emotional manipulation. Girls addicted to drama. Both dudes dodged a bullet. Kayla tried to fire back, calling it revenge, claiming the audio was AI generated. But the screenshots were too detailed, the timestamps too precise. Even her closest friends went silent. For the first time since Taylor started showing up at the market months ago, the entire situation had flipped. Kayla's narrative crumbled, and there was nothing she could do to piece it back together. 2 weeks later, the chaos had mostly burned itself out. Kayla had locked her accounts, stopped showing her face at the gym, and gone quiet in every group chat. I heard from a mutual friend that she was thinking about moving across the state to escape the embarrassment. Me? I was fine. I started spending time with Zara Malik from my running club. We kept it simple. Morning runs, quiet dinners, no public posts, no drama. After what I just lived through, the lack of spectacle felt like freedom. One Saturday, I ran into Kayla at the grocery store. She looked different, tired, drained, like the weeks had aged her. "Enjoying this?" she snapped. "You destroyed my life." "Destroyed?" "No, you did that yourself." Her voice cracked. "You planned it. You set me up with Taylor." I asked him about birthday ideas, I said evenly. Everything else came from you. Every message, every late-night call, every word you chose. Her eyes welled. I loved you, Roger. I shook my head. No, you loved attention. You loved keeping one foot in the past while calling me insecure for noticing. That's not love. She covered her face with her hands, crying quietly between the shelves. I felt nothing, not anger, not pity, just a kind of cold clarity. For what it's worth, I said, maybe take this as a lesson. Real relationships don't need backup plans. I walked away without waiting for her reply. Weeks passed. Kayla eventually posted one last note from a private account, taking time to heal and grow. Sometimes the universe removes people to protect you. The lack of accountability was almost impressive. But she was right about one thing. The universe had removed both of us, from her games, her lies, her need for chaos. And in the end, Taylor never came around again. Mission accomplished. Thank you for watching.